For all you Harry Potter fans, have we got a deal for you today? 9 square meters in central London. It is nothing more than a broom cupboard, or is it? Now, the property we've got today, we've got Casey here today, we've got Safe, we've got Piotr, and this is going to be one of our property reviews. This is a property that's at auction. So for anybody who wants to live the luxury Harry Potter life, this isn't just any cupboard under the stairs. This is cupboard under the stairs by Harrods. This is a beautiful property.
And it's one of those properties that you can buy it for less than an average wage in the UK. Central London.
But there's a couple of things to look out for. I'm not going to spoil it for you. We're going to let Casey's done some proper research. We'll let Casey point out some of the real red flags here. Now that I've bigged it up to the Harry Potter crew.
So let's start with first describing what the property is, and then we go into our analysis and stuff. So this is a 9 square meter room, studio flat.
Yeah, we call it a room. Let's call it a room.
We'll call it a room. I think calling it a flat would be breaching some planning regulations.
It's 125-year lease with a share of freehold.
Very important.
Very important. It's in the building in Pimlico, and it's being sold by receivers who took it from the owner, who's a Monaco resident who claimed to live there for a number of years. And he tried to get planning, and he was refused. And he got an appeal, refused, dismissed, and now
planning for what? Just to confirm,
studio flat.
Right. Okay. So that flat's not got planning.
No. And the current, most recent letter from the council from 3 weeks ago, is asking for clarification how this property is being used, probably before they go into.
If it basically says, if this is no longer being used as a studio flat, please show us current pictures of there not being a shower room and a kitchen and a bed.
Hence why you put it into auction.
I think shower and kitchen are fine. It's the bed.
Bed.
Yeah. But anyway, Kazi, give us your.
So starting point. Obviously, we spoke previously about marketing. Looks very attractive. You can buy a flat in London for guide price of 25,000. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
would you turn it from a 1 bed to 2 bed?
I'd think with this, it's like you're turning it from a single bed to a double bed. Is maybe the potential that you've got. Yeah, the pull out.
Put a bunk bed on top.
And to their credit, like if we can get some pictures of it, it does actually look nice. They've done a good job with how it looks. But we talk about red flags. So what to look out for at auction. I think you touched on this stuff. Do you remember what the property is described as?
No.
So it's not described as a studio flat. It's not described as a 1 bed. It's not described as anything because it can't be, because it doesn't have any planning. So it's being described as leasehold property. So that's all it is, because there's no actual usage at present. So in terms of red flags, when there's no description of a property, it always means like you should be thinking, okay, I don't think they just miswrit this. There's a reason why it's very purposeful, and language is important.
Yeah.
So that was my starting point. Just for kind of maybe people that are slightly newer to property, when you're looking at mortgageable properties, like size is important. You're looking.
Size is always important, Cassie.
Regardless
of mortgage. You heard it here first. Size matters.
This is always important. At 5'8" can't really stand on that, but for this purpose,
also,
it is.
In this instance, it really does not just the size, but how it's used. Really does.
Yeah.
Matter.
So I was gonna get to that. So in terms of size, realistically, we talk about 30 square meters as a minimum in terms of mortgageable. This is a third of that, so it is, albeit being cheap, you have to think long-term plans. It's not going to be something, even if you could sort out all the problems, that you're going to be able to get finance on. Off the back, red flags also, there's no searches whatsoever in the legal pack.
Yeah.
And when we talk about what to look out for at auctions and how to kind of do your top level due diligence, you're not really looking for what's there. You're looking for what's been omitted is normally a good idea of where issues are within any potential property. So you yourself touched on the fact that, there's definitely a threat of enforcement at the moment. So previously, they did go through planning, then through a established use application, both of which were rejected. So therefore, once you've got an enforcement notice, the council is effectively saying, and what they've said in their correspondence is that this property should be being used as a commercial space. It has the right. So that being said, when we talk about problem solving, it potentially actually does have a value, right? Because it could work as somebody who lives at, a home and they just want to work from, central London base to use as an office. And £25,000 for an office in Pimlico still could be a good deal.
Like storage spaces go for more money. And I think this could even work for someone in the building who wants another
Separate,
space to work from.
And that's important. However, again, it's when you now do the deep dive, you see, hang on a second, you touched on the fact that it's actually been granted a lease, which is great. But the issue then is the council saying it cannot be used as residential. Your lease outlines that it can only be used as residential. So then now you have to think, okay, even though it's share of freehold, you still have to go collectively and get consent to change the use of the property. And if you can't make that marry up, which you probably wouldn't be able to do within the auction timelines, you're then stuck with a property that can't be used for either purpose.
Kazi, can you do the due diligence on my property purchases, please? Because that's fucking brilliant.
No, I've got more. I've got more
Okay.
bits. Listen, I've learned to read the odd. The only other little things to think about is that you touched on the fact it's being sold by a receiver. Because it's being sold by a receiver, you have to indemnify that receiver against any potential claims. All the claims potentially for for outstanding service charges, for anything based on the enforcement notice would fall on the incoming buyer. So you're actually taking on the responsibility. And the last thing, which I think is just, you touched on it with an issue of your property, it's not being sold with vacant possession. Now that could relate to the furnishing in the property, but you just also need to bear in mind that could also relate to a brand new friend that you're going to have to make.
Fair enough.
I mean, one of the things with this specifically is it's unusual for a receiver to have the amount of information, limited as it is, about this property. They put in a letter from the council in there. Normally, you won't see stuff like that. Receivers sell with limited capacity, right? They don't really know a great deal about the property. They don't own it. The chances are they're like me. They've probably never been to the property before, right? So the fact that they're not hiding these things, they're not claiming it's one thing over another. They've made it as clean as possible with all the issues it has. They made it as clean as possible. I imagine this will be picked up by a trader, and then it will be put into another auction where it will be described as something slightly different.
I think this is just the beginning of the life
This
of
journey.
this property.
Yeah. I can't wait for the EIG history on this, but I think the thing that surprised, I'm not surprised that there's a receiver or a lender involved, because ultimately you can have short-term lending and stuff like that. So I doubt it's going to be a mortgage. It's probably going to be more like a short-term bridging type product. But what surprised me is the level of debt that's on it, because even though we don't know necessarily what the level of debt is, but the guide price represents pretty much what that debt is. So to me, it sounds like the level of debt is probably no more than 30,000 on that property.
Yeah, I mean, this property was purchased for 120,000 in 2016.
Yeah, but
I don't know exact date, but it was 120,000 from KFA.
But it's just very unusual that this is a Monaco-based buyer taking out such a small loan on such a strange, weird-looking building. And I wonder whether the actual lenders got involved to try and force their hand. So I don't think that necessarily this guy's not being able to pay the mortgage. I think it's just fallen outside of their tick box criteria of this has now got an enforcement, it doesn't have planning, etc. for its use class of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, but I think I'm not sure if the receivers are obliged to put something at the level of debt. I don't think that guy.
No, not necessarily. But what I mean is,
the seller, the actual lenders decided, okay, we'll just take any money from this. Let's just listen to what the receiver and the auctioneer got to say.
But I think they'll always do price discovery to start off with, because they've got so much time on their hands. They're not as desperate to sell it as a desperate seller or distressed seller. So I think they would at least try it at a certain level, because they don't care if it goes on sold in auction. They'll just put it again and again and again. But some RIC surveyor must have obviously given them that figure from it might be an auction RIC surveyor associated with the auctioneer, it might be a RIC surveyor associated with the receivers themselves. But I just feel like it gives you a bit of an indication as to where the debt levels are. So I doubt the debt levels are at 200 grand. I think they're closer to that kind of 25 grand level is what I'm saying. And it just, to me, sounds just a bit interesting that it potentially is such a low level for an asset.
Well, a funny story. It was maybe a year or two ago, and another YouTube superstar Tage from Tage Talks gave me a call. I've spoken on this thing before, fairly friendly. He said, I've seen this property in Chelsea, in Kensington. It's near Harrods in Kensington. I said, send me the link. I'll have a look at it for you, see if it's any good. And it was basically one of these up a half set of stairs. It was a very, very small building, like must have been roughly the same size, 9, 10, 12 square meters, whatever. And he goes, what do you think? I said, I think you're a muppet if you're looking to buy it. He goes, okay, good answer. I don't think you went to buy it. But this is someone who's you got this issue where the use is commercial, but the lease is residential. These are outside of everything else, the size and the conditions fantastic. Outside of all of those different things, that's the real sticky point here. If someone was just had the cash and thought, this is Pimlico, even if I had it as an office and rented it out to someone for £500 a month, right? It's still a deal.
Could be used as a massage parlour.
Massage
with
parlours.
a happy ending, without a happy ending. There's a shower there. There's,
Well, I mean, if you can get the pull-out bed, then there's every chance.
I think the thing is you would buy a vacuum cleaner with a camera, so there's a buyer for everything. But so there's always something. But it's just, can you solve the problem? So can you solve how it can be used?
Well, is the property cheap enough to solve the problem? I think is the other thing, right? So it needs to be at a level where it makes sense, because although the guide is 25, we don't know how much it's going to sell for, because I have a feeling that's going to attract a lot of eyeballs with the location and the guide.
If you take out the fact that the majority of people looking at it are looking at postcode and price, they're not thinking about the size. They haven't done the due diligence to realise that there's a discrepancy between its use
and the
lease, right? There must be a separate phone line that Savills have set up to basically anyone who calls to say, no, it's not for you. No, it's not for you, right? Because
I just thought about.
Go on.
Imagine an open house of 20 people in a 9 square meter room.
It'd be like one of those clown cars, wouldn't it? People just keep coming out.
Just randomly open the door and you're like a resident. There's probably like some nice flats in that building as well.
There would be, yeah.
Maybe some nice flats in that building.
But this is likely on the ground floor. And then also as you go through the bathroom, you can come out of the bathroom and maybe there's like a circle you can do.
Yeah, okay. So at least, to be fair, at least it's got 2 entrances, so really good for fire safety.
I think it's not even a cupboard. I think it's a landing area. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like someone's carved up this building. There was an extra landing area where they maybe stored a few things and thought, let me create some value out of this.
So we were talking about this property in the Auction Buyers Club. This was actually brought to us by, I don't think they're going to go ahead and buy it, so they won't mind us doing the video.
They did view it today
They viewed it. Yeah. I think just because entertainment, and they're intrigued. They've not seen something like this. But one of the people that's in the Buyers Club has got Chinese connections. So they're like, well, actually, this is roughly the size you could find.
Yeah.
In some parts,
in
China, in Hong Kong, they've got this building where there's, I can't remember how many hundreds of thousands of people are living in it, and they basically their accommodation is lengthwise, like pods. But you basically go in and you lay down, and there's like a TV here, but that's all your space. So it's I don't think London's at that point yet. You mentioned,
but that's what I was saying. That there is a market, whether it be for somebody that's really happy with a tiny home, whether it be the person that wants the office space, somebody that wants.
If you're a minimalist that doesn't really care about having lots of possessions, that place is probably your Havana.
There's a hostel I saw on Booking.com accidentally when I was going through some of the options to stay in London. There's a hostel which basically is like pods. In Hackney, and it's about £35 a night. Imagine £35 a night in this Pimlico. Like, I think the Pimlico thing you can easily get.
Oh yeah, I think if someone wants, I know there was a big trader that was talking to me recently saying, if you find something in this area, I need it as a bit of a pad, basically. From a trading point of view, he wants to buy it to use it as a pad. I think this could form a pretty good pad for someone, but the problem is the whole residential use class, right?
Yeah.
But taking you back to a story, I once tried to stay in central London, and I think it was just a really busy period. Just to put it in context, the cheapest hotel was the Holiday Inn at something like 420 quid.
Was this were you doing a property investor awards or something like that?
It was, I think, when we were speaking at Ranjan's, one of Ranjan's events, and I ended up picking up a hotel called Sharif Hotel, right? Lovely area. Literally, I went in and it was just a pod. That's all it was. It was literally just a room. Now, I say room, it was just a bed. Literally, you walk in bed, and then literally 4 walls. It did have a toilet, to be fair. It was so bad. I woke up in the morning to wash my face, no water. Went downstairs, everyone in their robes, trying to basically speak to this kind of reception that, to be fair, didn't speak English at the time, and everyone's just kind of like, what's going on with the water? But just to give you an example, and that was £220 a night. So I think
he did that to me once. Just so you're aware,
on purpose.
That was 80 quid.
Yes, our business relationship is Piotr books all of my travel. I'm useless at stuff like that, and actually, logistically, he's a genius. But I was staying. I must have been at one of these events, and the toilet, Property Investor Awards. It was in the basement, no natural light, a cot. It wasn't a bed. It was a cot, and the toilet was 2 stories up.
Wow. Just wow.
I
to be fair,
it was
I thought to myself,
distance from the venue.
to be fair, Property Investor Awards is very, very, very expensive, and it's probably one of the busiest weeks in London. Everyone's out there shopping and stuff. But to Kazzy's point, which is a really good point, there's stupid people out there buy Hoovers with cameras, right? So
anyone... You just called yourself stupid. What happened here?
Because he loved that idea to start with. He was so proud. He was,
you just threw him right
that
under
was
the
his
bus.
go-to. Forget about the fact, forget about military application, forget about, what you can use it for. It doesn't matter that you can instant translate somebody's voice. Hoover with a camera. I'm sold.
You can tell his one job at home is hoovering or doing the floors, and he's like, I'm getting something.
Just to be clear, this is an automated Hoover, so it does its own thing. But my point is, and that's why you pay £1,000 for a Hoover. But my point is, that there is a use for everything. People will pay for anything. So
there'll be somebody that might just want to be in a catchment area for the right school.
And that's the beauty. Yeah. That is the beauty of auction. That is literally the beauty of auction.
As long as you've got want a parking permit on the street, and you can only get it if you're a resident.
As long as you've got a contract and you've got something to sell, then that's what auction is there for. So,
well, let's see the predictions. I want predictions, guys.
I think it's going to sell.
Guide price, 90 square feet.
I think it's going to sell for £48,000.
Wow, that's a good guess. I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I'm gonna say, 58. Go up 10k.
Okay. Okay.
Don't raise your eyebrows at me. Go first.
Come on.
Okay. My gut feeling here is we're all pretty certain this thing is selling.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. I think this is between £98,000 and £102,000.
Wow, bold.
I'm 105.
All right. Okay.
You know why he's cheeky? Because if he goes for anything over 102,
he wins.
He's won.
He's won.
That's a man that lives in maths. He just out-maths you.
To be fair, he does this every recording session.
Okay.
So this is not new.
This is,
and that's why he's like, I always get it right. It's like, because you just go
just over it. And I was closest.
But it's like 4 times the guide price. Come on. It's like it's a
I think it's got 100k.
I think it easily can. I think it easy. I personally, I think it will sell before as well. I think it's going to sell before auction.
Not to the receiver, no.
Oh yeah, because it can't. Yeah, I forgot actually.
Yeah,
it would have typically. It would have been the kind of thing that someone would have done.
It will definitely have been done before if it wasn't a receiver. 100%.
The tricky thing, my gut feeling, it'll be a trader that picks it up. That's just gut. If a trader picks this up, the problem that they have is that the best auctioneer to trade this through is probably the one that they're buying it from. Now, there are 2 other options that will do really good work on it, but they're buying it. They should be buying it from a Barnard Marcus, or they should be buying it from someone like that, and
selling it to Seville's,
and then selling it.
But you do know that trader is going to completely ignore the council's enforcement notices. Not going to put it into the legal pack. Probably going to take it out the legal pack next time they sell it. Let's be completely honest. Everything. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting. We need to do another episode on when this goes into auction next, because we guarantee you it will.
When is this?
It's 18th of June, which is on the Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday. Yeah, 18th of June. Yeah.
The good news is this could be a series that we run throughout the year. The amount of times this is relisted back into auction at different prices.
We have to bring Kazzy back every time for this.
We'll have to estimate what every buyer's incremental loss has been throughout the journey of this deal.
Brilliant. So tell us what you guys think this is going to sell for. Drop some comments and some numbers in below, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Hey guys, this is Piotr, and let's wrap up this video with the results of this property. So, this flat sold for £71,000, which reflects £800 a square foot. It does have some issues, and the new owners will need to address them. And we don't know who purchased it, but we'll see. Will we see this property in the auction again? I bet it will happen this year. This property will come back into an auction. Someone will probably try to reoffer it. Maybe they would have solved the issues by then. However, we don't know, and we find it interesting to follow and see what's gonna happen with this property. So if you enjoyed this video, you can check out another video on our channel, which is about short lease flats that keep coming back in the auctions over and over. You might find it very interesting and informative. And if you like our channel, please share it with others who also might enjoy the content that we put out. And obviously, please subscribe to our channel, enable notification by pressing the bell icon so you don't miss out on our future videos. Thank you and see you in the next episode.